everybody. And yeah, thank you for signing up for this event with We Are PF. And this is how you can use content marketing to attract better, not more clients for your accounting firm. So as I just said, we're joined by Karen and Steph from We Are PF. So Karen, I will hand over to you.
Well, thank you, Emily, and lovely to see you all. Some of your names I recognize, and I know there's a lot of people who are catching the recording later. Those of you who know PF know that we use the chat box during these. I would recommend just put yourself on mute, not because we don't want to hear from you, but because if there's any noise going on in the background, then you don't have to worry about that. But please heavily use the chat box as you're able. There's a few questions that we're going to ask. And when we ask the question, what you tell us will help make sure that what I'm sharing applies to you who are listening. Because I've got loads of things that I can say, but I want to make sure that what I'm saying applies to those of you who are actually watching and listening, and what applies to you. And the way to do that is when we're talking about things like, okay, think of a client that just didn't work out and it wasn't the best relationship. Who was that client? What were some of the sort of flags that came up? You know, put a few of those notes in the chat, because then we can apply it specifically. The thing that we feel really passionate about at PF is when we talk about marketing, it's never to be this broad generic concept, you know, where we're like, oh, content marketing helps you draw in the best leads. It's when you create the messages and the blogs and the videos and the things that talk to the kind of people you love, that means the next person who comes to have a meeting with you, you're like, wow, this is the kind of client I want more of. And that's what we want for you. We want it to apply to you. And we've got Georgie here, who's one of PF's clients from Starfish. There she is. I'm going to give you some background on the content marketing and how it applies. And then we're going to have a bit of an interview with Georgie to talk about how she has applied this in Starfish. And we were just chatting before this started about how there's this balance between doing all the things, all the marketing things, and then prioritizing them and choosing the things that will help you actually reach your goals. And Georgie's a good example of that. So I'm going to go ahead and share a few slides on here, partly to remind myself to remember things, but also so you guys have some little reminders. You're very welcome to screenshot anything that you see. If you're like, oh, hey, that's a good reminder, screenshot it. You're very welcome to share any of this on social and say, oh, I was attending this and this was actually really helpful. Here's a question I have. And again, please do use the chat during to tell us how this applies to you. But if afterwards you're thinking, oh, I missed that, or I wasn't sure about this, or I wonder how this applies to me, you can always contact us either on all the socials, or Steph will drop the email address into the chat box that you can use at any time. Reaches me and the whole team. And we just love to help. We love to help accountants to take this concept of marketing and apply it to your firm. So this concept that we're talking about today is not about we're changing the perspective of, oh, marketing means I need more leads. And actually, just quickly, Georgie, I know we've talked about this before. I seem to remember you got really struck by something that we had sent out, because in your mind, you were thinking marketing needs more leads and I don't need more leads.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We'd been swamped with leads, and I was always quite smug that clearly our marketing was great because we had so many leads, but they were causing us no end of problems. We were trying to take on everybody. We were always backed up with onboarding. We were losing people in early stages because we weren't necessarily looking after everybody consistently. And I was on your mailing list, and we had something through from you guys about building a waiting list. And I thought, oh, this is what I need in my life. And that's what prompted me to reach out initially. And, you know, those sorts of things make such a difference to controlling it.
Yeah. And what was it that when you were getting all these leads and you were signing them up, what do you feel sort of pushed you to feel like you had to, you know, when they got in touch and you thought, well, I have to have a meeting, I have to sign them up?
It's that I still feel it in the back of my mind. I have to try and stamp on it. It's that you run your own business, you don't know where the next thing is going to come from. So even though we had lots of leads and we consistently had lots of leads, I didn't know if they were going to dry up the next day.
Right.
And I never wanted to sit there and think, I've turned something away and now the leads have dried up and now I've got problems and I wish I hadn't turned it away. And I think it takes a long time to get to the point where you've got confidence that your marketing and the consistency with which you're doing things means that those leads won't dry up.
I think that's such an interesting point about the pressure that you feel. First, like, what if they all go away? And secondly, the pressure of, like, in essence, in that scenario, the prospect is fully in control. You know, you're not in control of your marketing, they are. So you have to respond to them. Do you have any thoughts as to where that sort of thinking came from?
I mean, that's a really, really good point. I can't tell you where it came from initially, but I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head there. It's about who controls the process. And we try to be all things to all people. So we get somebody contacting us and, can you help us with a community interest company? I'd be like, I've never worked on a community interest company. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can do anything. And we weren't looking at where we were specialists. We weren't looking at what our niche was. And really it was killing us because we were trying to do so many different things and instead of focusing on what we did well. And I think letting other people drive that whole marketing process is quite risky. Yeah,
it is risky. That's such a good point, because this is one of the challenges that accountants especially feel with marketing, is there is a risk. There's not, I mean, I'm not going to give today 3 or 4 things that every single one of you implements tomorrow and gets 3 clients the next day. It's literally not possible, because the best marketing has to reflect you and only you. You know, the marketing PF helps Georgie with is Starfish marketing. If we took Starfish marketing and slapped somebody else's logo on it, it would not work. You know, it'd be this great marketing, and then they'd meet you and be like, wait a minute, this is different. Doesn't mean it's bad. You know, every one of you has your own unique, like personally and as a firm, you have your own approach, and your marketing needs to match. It needs to be authentic. It needs to be who you truly are. And the worst marketing happens when you're trying to be somebody that you're not. When you're trying to say, oh, we're this, you know, big firm, when really it's just you working in a back bedroom. If it's you working in a back bedroom, you don't have to show a picture of the bedroom, but you also don't want to give the impression that you have these big offices in London. That's a false view. And it means that your prospect gets confused. You know, they come and meet you and go, oh, you're like this. You don't want them to be surprised in that way. You want them to be like, yes, this is exactly right. Yes, I saw this on your website. I saw these pictures. I saw these team members. Oh, and now I'm meeting these team members. And now I'm seeing that the photos that Georgie shares of the farm around the offices, I know that that's authentic because I've been there. And when she shares that, oh, here's a sunset, you know, from our offices, I'm like, yeah, I remember that. I was there. So what you're doing for your prospects is you're doing that ahead of time so that when they see it, they go, oh, this matches, and that results in trust, which means they buy faster. So thanks for sharing that, Georgie, because one of the biggest reminders you need to hold on to is that the right way is the long way. This is not about stuff that happens tomorrow necessarily, although we have had clients who take something we share and get a client the next day. It's about doing that drip feed, that consistency, like Georgie said, so that you do get to the place of the waiting list. Yeah, Louise was mentioning, you know, it'd be great to have a waiting list. We've got a blog post article on the waiting list and some videos. If we'll mention it later, but the accelerator coaching group that we do is perfect for either one. So, you know, Louise is saying, I'd love to have a waiting list. Patrick's going, I don't have any leads. Whichever side you're on, the principles of marketing are going to apply to each of you so that you can get the leads as you want them. And then, like Georgie said, not be fearful that it's going to dry up. Because when your marketing is consistent and goes across the board and doesn't give up and stays focused on the kind of clients you want, then it will begin to bring those in. So when we say that good marketing isn't about getting more leads, this doesn't mean that we're saying we don't want you to get leads. We're saying we want you to get better leads rather than more. If it's a choice, if you have to choose between a few leads that are amazing clients and a ton of leads from which you have to spend loads of time to get those amazing clients, which one would you choose? I mean, I will take the 2 or 3 qualified, ready, amazing clients any day of the week because I don't want to waste that time, and neither do they. I was talking to a firm the other day who was saying, but we have to get all these leads. We have to. That's how the numbers work. I have to get 400 of them so that I can get 20. And I said, well, what if you had 50 that turned into 20, but you didn't have to spend time on the other 350, emailing them, messaging them, setting up a meeting, realizing they're too small, realizing they're not ready, realizing they're not the right kind of person. And one of the points that this accountant made was, but what about the people who will sign up later, 2 months later, 6 months later, a year later? And I said, that's a really fair point. So what if we take the 400 that you're getting and have the marketing weeded out so that the 350 go away for now, and they still stay connected to you. The 50 get put into a bit of a waiting list, and then you get to choose. You are fully in control. If you have a waiting list, you can decide if you open the waiting list tomorrow. You know, you don't have to keep somebody on a waiting list for 3 months if you don't want to. If they're amazing and you want to start tomorrow and you're ready to start tomorrow, do it. But you're in control. You get to decide. You are not waiting on leads to tell you what to do in your firm. You are saying, I am ready now. I am not ready now. And we do this at PF as well. One of the team was sharing yesterday. She's been having a lot of prospect meetings and client calls, and all of a sudden 4 or 5 of them, turned into new work, and we were all excited and great victories. And then she went, oh, I better be careful, because what if I end up signing so many more and then I get swamped? And we talked about how it's not about not signing people up. It's just about spacing it out a little bit. If we want them to start in May, we start talking to them in February, have a meeting in March, send the proposal, talk to them. We have a longer buyer cycle at PF, and that's okay. Your buyer cycle might be a little bit different. You need to figure out what it is so that you can move people through that list in the way that works for you. Quick question from Patrick. Is it a good idea to put on your website the criteria for the client we're looking for? I'd say, what else would you put on your website? That, I think you've just nailed what you do need to put on there. You need to be crystal clear on your website who you're looking for, so that when they come to your site, they go, oh, that's me. That is me. That fits me. One of the examples, let me see if I can jump out to this for a second. One of the examples of a firm we work with who does this really well is Pink Pig. And when we revised all of the content on their website, we talked about the kind of people they want to work with. And for them, it's not a specific niche. It's a type of person, a business owner who has a family, has kids. Some of them are single parents. They're exhausted. One of their big things is guilt, struggling with feeling like, oh, when I'm with my family, I ought to be working. When I'm working, I ought to be with my family. So they took these messages and made it so clear. When you come to Pink Pig, the messages, even the subtle images here of kids and business owners running families, this is how you feel. Talk about their feelings, not just the services that you have, and use that so that a person who owns a business and has kids comes to this website and goes, oh, that's how I feel. Yes, I am struggling with guilt. Yes, I am, worried about this or wondering about this or whatever it be. So the more that you can show on your website about who you're looking for, it's not about you. And I'll address this, Patrick. It's not about you saying, hi, this is the kind of client we want. Here's some bullet points. Are you this? That could feel a little off-putting to them. It's more about creating messages that cause them to feel comfortable, to feel more safe, to feel like it's possible that these people can help me. That's all you're trying to get them to say. You're actually not trying in your website and your marketing to get them to sign up with you today, as much as we would all like that. You're building trust so that they feel it's possible that you can help them. And as a reminder, here's our progression model. We have a whole guide on this that Steph has created that gives you loads more detail. But the short version is people take time to get to the point of signing with you for a retainer or a project. And so it's your responsibility to share things that help them move through this at the speed at which they feel comfortable and safe. So for some people, that may be a day or two. For some people, that may be 2 years or 5 years. You let them go as fast as they want to go. So you don't pressure them and you don't push them, but you make it possible for them. If they want to sign up in 30 days, you make it possible for them to do it. And if they want to take 2 years, you say that's no problem. You take your time. We're here when you're ready. Does that make sense? Okay, so backing up a second, I had a question for you guys. So as we're thinking about clients that you do want, it's good to take a step back and think about clients you don't want. And I'm reasonably sure that all of you can, off the top of your head, think of a client relationship that didn't work out. And that is the tactful way to say it, most likely. So think of that person in your mind. Just imagine that, like, I know you've worked really hard to set it aside and never think of them again, but use this to help you learn. Think of that person, that relationship where you're like, oh my word, it either wasn't great or it was so bad and it caused me and my team all this trouble. So think of that person. I'm not even going to have you put that in the chat box because we're talking about people who are difficult. Louise has strong feelings on this. What kind of, and when I say what flags, I'm talking about what kind of words did they say? What kind of emails did they send? What kind of comments did they make that made you just kind of go, and I'm presuming you didn't listen to them and then you signed them up and then it became worse later. So type into the chat box, just think of that person. And then so for example, we had a client that didn't work out eventually. And it was interesting because it seemed so great for like a year or two. But when everything fell apart, and there was lots of reasons for that, we looked back and realized that this person was always in a rush. They wanted answers instantly. They wanted to pay urgency fees. They wanted to hurry and hurry. Yep, exact. Georgie's in the same thing. Everything was urgent. They would ignore us for a month and then be like, oh, hey, here, I've given you this feedback. Can I have this tomorrow? You know, everything was urgent and hurried and rushed. So type into the chat box just some qualities or things that they did that you thought about. And the reason you do this is because part of your marketing and your prospect work and your pre-qualifying is to help you figure this out faster. And then it doesn't become super awkward later where 3 months, 6 months, 12 months later, you have to have this whole conversation and it's difficult. And then they go, oh no, I'll change and I'll stay. And you think, oh, actually, we don't want you to stay. And now you need to go. And that becomes quite difficult. And Patrick's mentioned not wanting to change. We've had firms who have said in their initial discovery form or questionnaire, what accounting software do you use now? And are you willing to change that? Like maybe they're Xero only or QuickBooks only. And if the person says, no, absolutely not, we're Sage forever, or whatever the thing is, then they just say politely, well, in our case, that's not going to work. We wish you well, you know, off you go. And it's so much easier to do that at the beginning because then, like we were saying, you're in control. Okay, so some of the other ones, these are really helpful. Tried to renegotiate fee at the start of the engagement. And we all understand the difference between somebody trying to genuinely understand the value of a fee and saying, can I get the same for less? You know, we know that if the price is this and they say, can I have it for less? We're like, sure, what do you want to remove? That's how it works because the price is the price. Steph and I were working on the new PF website. And one of the things that we put specifically on our pricing page is we don't discount. We don't do discounts. That's sort of a dirty word, really, for your sake as well as for ours. If our prices are good, why would we cut them down randomly because somebody doesn't want to pay them? If somebody doesn't want to pay them, then they don't understand the value yet. And it's our responsibility to help them or to let them go if we did everything we could and they go away. I was watching a webinar recently it was one of those where they were like, here's all the stuff you get, and this is worth £1,000 or dollars, and this is worth $50, and this is worth $600, and this is worth $3,000, but I'm giving it to you today for $67. And I was like, what? If this is worth $3,000, you got to pay $3,000. I mean, okay, I could see saying it's $3,000, but if you sign up today because you're on the webinar, we'll give it to you for $2,500 because you've invested time. You know, there could be something like that, I suppose, sort of a special offer. But to knock that down by thousands of dollars means that that person didn't understand the value of what they were offering. It wasn't actually worth $3,000. A couple other things people are mentioning, quick queries, just a quick question. Again, this is your responsibility to set up your system so that you can respond to questions or make sure that they feel heard. But all of this needs to be done before they become a client. Because when you do that, you've set the expectations so that you can have the right conversations and the right connections with the best clients. Now, the next question I want to ask is, think about what this costs you. Think about the quick queries. Think about the scope creep. Think about the client who doesn't understand the value. Think about the client who you're struggling to trust them, or they're constantly want to renegotiate the fee, or they don't want to change. Throw in just some thoughts in the chat box about, what does this cost you? What does it cost you, either in money or time or team, or what kinds of things off the top of your head, thinking, you know, when we accept clients who are like that, it costs this. Actually, Steph, I'll ask you, because we've talked about this a lot at PF. What do you feel like this costs if we at PF just accepted anybody without any qualification?
Yeah, the natural answers would be time. You know, it costs you time to discuss it as a team. It costs you your personal time thinking about it, wondering about it, the time that you obviously invest, you and your team invest, that then is wasted. But as I've just seen somebody pop in the chat box, it's not just things like time and resource, it's also the toll it can take on you emotionally and mentally, and what that can mean for your other clients who are the best clients. Are they getting less attention given to them because you're focusing your attention on these ones you're worrying about? So you end up wasting time and resource and your teams, but actually it can at times damage a client relationship that is a really good one and very trusting, and you have a great relationship with them and they support you. But do they end up being almost penalized for the fact that you've got difficult clients that take more attention?
Yeah.
So it's more than just, and that's what we would find at PF, is we've got so many wonderful clients, which Georgie included, love to work with and spend time with. And we would want them to feel that our time was being spent on clients that were difficult and hard and made us and the team stressed and just worried.
Yeah, and it affects your creativity too. One of the things that I believe very strongly is that every human being is creative. We are creative as humans, and that begins from when we're a child, and you can see it in children, but the creativity gets sort of like pulled out or dragged out of us. And by the time we're adults, we're not tapping into the real creativity we have. And this is even more true for accountants, because you were told, or you told yourself, I'm an accountant, I'm not creative. And that is a lie. That is not true. You are a human, even as an accountant, so therefore you are creative. Now, creativity basically means curiosity and problem solving. That's what creativity includes. And accountants are really good at that. You're really good at going, okay, how might I do this and how might I do that? So the cost, like Steph said, the emotional energy, as David's saying, the stress within the team. I've talked to accountants who have finally sacked the client who was so difficult. And they said they came into it was back in days when everybody was in the office, but they came into the office, and he said there were people who were singing, like literally sitting at their desk, humming away, smiling. Somebody brought in like donuts and things, you know, happy lost client day. And he said the whole atmosphere was not only happier, but then we were more motivated to get the kind of clients we love. And that's what we want your marketing to do. We want your marketing to bring you all the clients you love. It is not okay to presume that you have to have some clients that you don't love. Now, You do for a while, but eventually your marketing needs to bring you only clients you love. And the moment you discover you don't love them, you either fix it and work with the client on it, or you let them go. That is how it has to go. And your marketing has to get better and better at doing that so that it divides it out before. And then you don't have that mental fatigue, that stress within the team, the exhaustion, the frustration, because you are using your time where you want to use it. So let's look at how you can use content marketing to draw that in. This is where your marketing does the work for you. It shoulders the burden for you. And the things that are weighing on you, it's like, listen, I'll take that. I'll just sort this out on the website and in the blogs and the videos, and I will bring you the best ones and send away the ones that aren't. We talked about the progression model. This is just a reminder of how your buyers buy and that they move sometimes slowly, they move at their own pace, but you need to have content in these categories, have some awareness, some free things. And the area that most accountants are missing is the small paid things. This means, and we practice this at PF as well, this will work for any service-based business. Somebody becomes aware, you guys are, some of you are very aware of PF, some of you new to PF, and this webinar we're doing is a free thing. You're here, you're giving your time, you're investing a little bit, but you're not paying for something yet. The accelerator, for example, we'll mention that later. That's our 12-week coaching group. Georgie's gone through it, and most of our clients go through it because it helps to apply all of the principles so that you have the best content marketing. That's a small paid thing compared to the sort of retainer and project work that we do on a large scale. You don't have to move from the small paid thing to the retainer straight away or at all. But a lot of people do, because by the time you've taken in all of this and you've learned about PF and you become educated and you say, yes, that makes sense. And then you get personal help from the coaching group. And then you go, gosh, what is possible in my firm if I got even more one-to-one help? And then you move to that. It's the same way how your clients feel. The reason I explain this in terms of what we do at PF is I want you to feel what your prospects feel. I want them to come to your marketing and go, okay, I feel safe to move to this stage. I feel safe to move to this stage. Okay, now I'm ready for this. Because otherwise you're trying to take them from nothing to everything with nothing in between. And it's, the example we've used is it's sort of like, you come to a pub, you're sitting down, you're chatting, somebody sits there, you say, hey, how's it going? You buy them a drink, and then you're like, listen, shall we just get married? Or like, is this, you're like, whoa, okay, like what's going on here? But if you met that person every day or every weekend, and then you started doing things at the weekend together, investing a little more time, and maybe you're doing it in a group, and then two of you start going out yourselves, and it could eventually turn into that, but only as you feel comfortable moving through a relationship. Accountants have a relationship of trust, and this is what you're building with your content. Your content is doing that job so that it builds awareness and builds trust every step of the way. So we're going to go through some very specific things that you can do that will help to build trust. And at each item, whether it's a blog or video or social post, we're going to talk about what it is within that helps build trust. So it's not about writing a blog post for the sake of having some words on your website. You're writing this blog post to help them be aware of you, to understand how things work, and to move through this at their own speed. And just going to come out of here and show you this for a second. These are the 12 elements of content marketing that every accountant has to pay attention to, and you need to pay attention to them in order. You need to think about your audience first. You need to think about who you're actually talking to, because by the time you get to blogging, you need to know who you're talking to, what their issues are. You need to be thinking some things about yourself and have a website set up and have these things. Because if I tried to help all of you write a blog today, my first question would be, well, who's it for? And what are the issues that they have? And how do you help solve those? And what's your brand, your style, your tone, your opinion? And how do we put that on the website? And how do you follow up with people? And so it isn't just about doing stuff. It's about the things that you do so that you build trust. Just a quick reminder of the relationship return. This is one of our assets at PF to explain that sometimes accountants come and say, well, what stuff do I need to create? Do I need to write blogs? Do I need to do social? And we say, well, let's back this up. First, we got to think about who we're actually, might even need a line below that, which is audience, but who are we talking to? What is the message we're trying to get across? So what is it that we're actually, so like Patrick was saying with the website, what message are we putting on there? Who do we want to draw in? If we want to draw in business owners running families, then that affects what message we're getting across, which then tells us what kind of format. You know, if these are business owners running families, are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Are they on any of the socials? Are they likely to attend a webinar? Are they likely to read a PDF? Are they likely to watch a video? They're probably more likely to watch a 30-second Instagram reel because that's all they have time for in between two of their kids pulling at them and trying to write a blog post and whatever else they're doing. And the reason you're doing all that is because you're building trust so that you can build that relationship. So some of the things that you can create, and I know some of you are doing these or have tried doing these, but you don't have to do all of them all the time, but eventually you want to get to the place where you are consistently doing these things. So I'd encourage you to start small, start safe. Start with the thing that you're most comfortable with. If you are not ready to do videos every day for 100 days, but you feel more ready to write a blog every week, start there. Just start where you can. Now, eventually you do need to push yourself in some areas, but you'll do that when you feel ready, when you feel confident. Georgie, I know we've talked about video a lot. There was a good while where you're like, I know I need to do video. I'm going to do video. What was it that you started with, would you say, Georgie?
I mean, I started doing blogs originally because the way I absorb information is via the written word, so it's comfortable. I've done a lot of writing over the years.
Yeah.
So blogs was just natural, but yeah, eventually got pushed to video.
Got there, and what was it that helped you to go, right, okay, now I am going to do video? Like moving from I want to, but I'm just not doing it, to I'm going to record it now.
I think it's an acceptance that different people like to have information presented to them in different ways, and not everybody is like me. We're still not doing an extensive amount of video, but the videos that we've done have been really well received, and particularly when we're sending out, talking about quick queries earlier, the client's got a quick query, how do I do this within Xero? Then we do them a little Loom video of how to do it and send it over, and then they can absorb that in their own time. And the next time, hopefully, we can either refer them back to the same video, or maybe they've figured it out and they won't ask.
Yes. Yeah, I love this. A great point about video is when you send a video, it's like having a conversation with somebody, but you're not there. So they can pause you and start you up again at their own speed. That's what I like, especially like a tutorial or a how-to. I remember I was watching a tutorial video on YouTube for something to do with my camera or something I was fixing. And I literally would pause it every like second and a half going, wait, what is it? Okay, let me do that. Okay, let me back up. And I watched this 4-minute video and it took me like half an hour, but it solved my problem. That saves you a lot of time rather than having an hour-long conversation. Okay, so blog posts is often a good way to start because it feels a little more comfortable. It's not you in front of the screen to everybody yet. I believe this is one of the actual Starfish blogs, and I love the title here. Why the man? Tell us about this title. Tell us about where this blog post came from.
It's a constant internal beef. You get somebody who says, my friend who knows everything said that I can save £5 million in tax by doing something illegal. Can I do it?
Yeah.
And it's that, for God's sake, please talk to the experts. Don't just get it from the man down the pub.
Yeah. And I've heard so many your mate down the pub, whoever, it's always this person down the pub is like, well, my accountant told me that I could whatever, or I read this somewhere, I think, and this is what I've done. So this is not merely about saying, well, here's a blog post about general tax regulations. It's about something that helps them feel like they're getting to know you. Like even the title, the concept of marketing gold dust means that you're using words that they would say. You're not entitling this blog post, trusting your accountants as the experts. That sounds very professional and very boring and very you focused. This causes someone to be like, what? Man down the pub, what is that? Or they're like, oh, I know exactly what that is. This is intriguing. That's why you're writing these blogs, and not just you, but eventually your team. And a lot of people who have gone through Accelerator, had their team go through Accelerator, they've had team members who have said, oh, I could write a blog on that. You know, that's a question I get asked all the time, and I'd love to save time. So the more you can involve your team, the more powerful your content becomes, because then the content is coming from the questions that clients are asking your team.
And that blog was written by one of the team.
Excellent.
And that photo is two of the team.
That's Annie, is it?
Yeah, that's right. Annie and Caroline.
Yes, absolutely. Annie was on the Accelerator as well. And I loved, she had great questions and took all these notes and things. And it's always so encouraging to see accountants joining the Accelerator and going, oh, okay, now I feel more comfortable about blogs or video or whatever it be. And then they get involved. And that means that your marketing better reflects who you are as a firm. So it's not this generic content, it's Georgie and Annie and all the people who are actually physically at Starfish, which is what the prospects want to know. So videos, this is another one of our clients, Sharon from Kinder Pocock. She really took up the challenge of videos on Instagram. These are Instagram reels. And especially when COVID first kicked in and all of her clients were worried, she did a lot more videos. And she would, like Georgie, Sharon and Georgie were in a very similar place. She's like, I need to do videos. I know that videos are helpful. I don't want to do videos. I don't like my voice. I don't like how I look. I don't, you know, whatever it is that's holding you back from video. But when COVID hit, all of those things went out the window because she needed to help her clients fast. And this was a fast way to get across the information that everybody was asking. As a result, she got more comfortable. Her clients gave her constant praise. You know, oh, I love this video. Oh, it's so helpful. Oh, thank you so much. Could you do one on this? And when you get that feedback, you're like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. Because in your mind, you've been thinking, I'm going to record one video. It's going to go viral and I'm going to have all these haters. I'm not going to be able to handle it. And that's not going to happen. You have like 4 followers right now, you know, like you don't have to worry about that. The people who will watch your videos are going to be your clients, and you can direct them to watch it until you feel comfortable to, you know, share them with everybody. So I often tell accountants that if you're not quite feeling comfortable with video yet, start with something like Loom. I'm presuming most of you know and use Loom by now. Zoom and Loom are, you know, 2 of the main ones. But if you are not, it's the simplest, easiest way to quickly record a video, either camera only, screen only, or screen plus camera. I always recommend, if you're doing a screen share, just use there's a little circle in the corner of your face. It's very tiny. You got the big screen, a little tiny one. Add that personal element. There's no point to having a video that doesn't have any of you in it, because they want to get to know you and your firm. That helps to build the trust. And then, like Sharon did on budget day, she just did a literally 60-second reel video on Insta saying, here's what we can expect. And oh, by the way, we have a Facebook group that you can join to get more updates. So then the clients and non-clients join this Facebook group, and then the non-clients over time see how Kinder Pocock is so helpful. And then they sign up with them because they build trust. It's that progression. You know, if we go back to our progression model, those people saw it, they just became vaguely aware. They saw the videos that Sharon was doing. They joined the free Facebook group, and then they moved through that progression model. And that's what your content does. And the more honest you are in your blogs and your videos, the more connection they have and you have with them. PDF guides is another one. A lot of accountants feel drawn to PDF guides. I think, I'm not even entirely sure why. Like, I wonder if it's just because it feels like a thing, a marketing thing. You do this guide, and then you get an email address and you gatekeep it. And then 4,700 people will sign up for my PDF guide, and 1,000 of them will have meetings. Whereas really, you know, maybe 5 or 10 people download it, and maybe one of them skims through it. You know, if you're anything like me, you download guides all the time and go, I'll read it later. But part of it is just that awareness. You're just sharing this, and you're sharing information in a way that means you don't have to repeat it over and over individually. And it shows expertise, which builds trust. So Paul, our client in the States, he's got a firm called Red Earth, and he kept talking to people about an S Corp, this particular kind of business in the States. And he kept talking to them over and over. And he finally said, right, we need a handbook for this. We need a guide, because I've got some blog posts, but I want to put it all together. And this is what you can do. You can build, you know, you can start with blog posts and then get blogs on a theme and build this into a guide like Paul did. And once we designed and created this and helped him with the content, took his content and then helped him edit this and put it into a beautiful guide. Now, every time somebody asks him about an S Corp, he's like, here, read this first. And then their conversation gets straight to the point. So instead of having the same conversation over and over and over, you get that out of the way and they go, right, well, I've read it. And you mentioned this, can we talk about this? And you get to the good stuff straight away. I've had a few calls with service providers when PF is looking for help in a particular area. And it always amazes me when they spend 30 minutes telling me about them and their company and how they do things and their process. And I'm sitting there going, this could have been a video. This could have been a graphic. I could have absorbed all of this before our meeting. And then we could have spent 30 minutes talking about me and what I need, which is what they want to know. So then instead of an hour and a half meeting where they talk about themselves for 30 minutes, and I talk about mine, and then we do the quote, we just go, right, okay, so I know who you are and how you work, and you know a little about me. What do we do with this? I've even gotten to the point of sending people videos so that I don't have to spend 30 minutes in the call telling them about me. Now that's my choice, and I do that because that's how we do things. But the more you can help your prospects to get there faster, the faster they will buy. Remember, your buyer makes 70% of their buying decision before they ever get in touch. They do research, they read your PDFs, they watch your videos, they follow you on social, they do something, they do some kind of research, even if they are referred, by the way. If they have been referred, they still check up on you. That's what everybody does, maybe a little bit less than they would if they weren't referred. But people who have never heard of you, who are moving through that buyer progression, they're going to need a lot to help encourage them and convince them that this is a right decision, or it could be the right decision, because they are fearful. Remember, they have doubts and fears. They are fearful that they're going to make the wrong decision. They like you, they like what you're saying, but they've had a bad experience before. And what you're saying is, we get that. We get you've had a bad experience. We understand not everybody has had an accountant like us. Here's how we approach things. And if that sounds reasonable to you, if that sounds comfortable, then you can get in touch and we can talk about it. Another way you can do this is with your values, and not simply saying, here are our values, although that's a very good thing to do. And I would encourage you to know what your values are, define them, and put them on your website. But that's a tiny, tiny part of values. The biggest part is, how do you live those out? These are these from MAP, Steph?
Yeah, that's right. MAPS. Yeah.
MAP is a accountancy firm who specializes in digital creative agencies in Manchester. They happen to be our accountants. And I was talking to Paul about how they used to have this list of 10 values. And he said, we realized over time that the 10 were more like behaviors and actions. He said, so we simplified it to 4 things, the values that cause us to have those behaviors. So in everything we do, we want to care and be dependable, be a team player, and be brave. And our clients are like that as well. And he said something really interesting about the whole team. He's got about 25 team members, and they're called mappers. I like that. And he said, I might talk to a client in this way, and this other mapper might talk to them in a little different way, but both of us will be caring, dependable, a team player, and brave, but we're not going to do it the exact same way. He said, so for example, I don't tend to call my clients mate. I thought that was really funny. Like, hey, mate, here's what it is. And he said, but some of our team do. He said, I'm not going to come down on them and be like, we don't do that. That's not what we say here. He's like, that's who you are. Be who you are, as long as you're being caring, dependable, a team player, and brave. That's what matters. So we've got loads of content on values. There's a whole series of 5 sessions that you can go through one-to-one with PF called Foundations, where we go through your goals, your brand, your website, your plan. We build you a marketing plan. We craft the messages for your website. And a big part of the branding session is helping you to either confirm or define your values. And one of the firms we work with up in the Scottish Highlands, when she went through foundations, she was thinking she knew what her values were. And by the end of the sessions, she knew what her values were, but she knew the number one value above all of them was community. Everything on her website is about community. It's about the Highlands community. See if I can find it real quick. It's called Kennedy Accountancy. She literally lives looking over the very famous island Donnan Castle up in the Scottish Highlands. So everything is about community, the place we call home. This is our community. You see, not just the word community, but the kinds of things that she says and does, and showing herself, finding joy in what you're doing. And then these photographs are her photographs and the place where she lives. So values go way beyond, here's some nice words. And we encourage you, by the way, to double check when you're tempted to have values like professional, friendly, expertise. Those are a given. Those are, you know, I would hope all of you are friendly, professional, expert accountants who know what you're doing. What we're looking for with values say, but how do we do this? How does Georgie do this? How does Tim do this? How does David do this? How does Louise do this? That's what your prospect wants to know. So just a quick tip that you can do this with values is, if one of your values is being friendly, just ask yourself more questions. What does friendly mean? Why is that so important to us? How do we show that? And the way you answer those, and you can work through it with the team, give you words that are more specific and more you, like these 4 from MAP. Anyone could sort of borrow values words, but it's not about using other people's, it's about figuring out who you are. And then that flows into everything. So every blog that you write, let's go back to these things. Every blog you write, every video you share, every PDF guide you create has content which is caring, and you show you're dependable, and you invite people in, and you do things that are brave. How do you do that? And they work that out, and you can work that out. Your philosophy is a little different from values. It's like your way of doing things at your firm. PF has spent a lot of time working on our new website about our marketing philosophy, because it is different from the marketing approach that other agencies have or other people have, or the marketing kind of messages in your head. Like, remember how Georgie was saying that there's messages that were in your head that you didn't even know how they got there, that you had to do what your prospects wanted you to do, that they were in control. So part of identifying your philosophy says, this is how we do business. And there might be a crossover to values. What is this one from, Steph? Do you remember which firm?
Yeah, I was going to say, I wondered if it was Kinder Pocock's, actually, at the Purple.
It might be. I don't remember. We can look that one up. It might be, because I do remember Sharon saying, if it's not, it's very similar, but I remember Sharon saying about this, we believe in nice. Actually, no, I don't think it is, because I know Kinder Pocock has something like we believe in love and kindness or something.
Oh, is that theirs?
And I remember Sharon saying, we almost felt embarrassed at first to talk about love and kindness. You know, we're an accountancy firm, we need to be professional. And I said, okay, but what do you believe in? She's like, we believe in, you know, working with clients we love and showing them kindness. And I said, well, then let's get that on there. And then anyone who's like, that's really cheesy and I don't want an accountant who loves me, great, they can go away. Good marketing divides. It's just done its job. It's just divided them right out. And they've said, I don't want a firm like that. I want a firm that's very stiff and professional and wears suits and cares more about numbers and data than being loving and being kind. It's fine. That's what they want. Let them go and have it. So let your marketing divide for you to save you time. Case studies will do this too, because then your clients can tell the stories that you often tell. And I know all of you will have had this, where you've got a story that you've told time and time again. When you tell it on your website and in your marketing, then it does the work for you, kind of removes that burden, and they can watch the video and read the words and then come to you and say, oh yeah, I read about Fiona and about Andy and about these people who had this experience, and maybe I could have that experience. I remember this whole story from Fiona came when she replied to an email I had sent, and she loves writing and has a particular way of writing really well. And she wrote it like it was a story. She was like, once upon a time, there was a firm called McAllister's, and, you know, we were doing really well, and we had clients we liked mostly, and we had plenty of leads, more or less, and the systems were pretty good most of the time. And then pandemic hit and our whole world shifted, and we realized, and she told this whole beautiful story. And we said, oh my word, we've got to get that story onto like the website and to share with other accountants that have had a story like that, but they don't have the ending yet that Fiona has. So we let Fiona tell the story, because she tells it far better than I could. She's got a beautiful Scottish accent as well. She's in Glasgow. And when you listen to that, then there's trust that's built to say, okay, maybe I could have what Fiona has. Maybe I could have what Georgie has. Maybe I could have what Andy has. And they can explain that. And all of this content works together so that the person coming to you has, let's go back through these things. They have read your blogs and have a sense of who you are, and they know who Annie is, and they know your style. And then they watch your video and they know how you speak and how you care for your clients. And they see your expertise in your PDF guides, and they see your values lived out, not just on your website. And they say, yes, that's my philosophy too. That's how I do business. And I feel like Fiona felt or Andy felt, and there's hope that I can have what they now have. And when they have all of those things, they come to, that's just the awareness. We haven't even got, just checking our time here, I think we're doing pretty well. We haven't even gotten to all the pre-qualifying and then the bringing them on as a client and the onboarding and all the things that comes after that. But you do the same sort of things throughout every process. So just very quickly on the pre-qualifying, you create processes so that they know what to expect. In the awareness stage, they understand who you are and your expertise and how you do things. In the pre-qualifying stage, they understand what to expect, what happens when I do this, what happens when I do that. Steph's been working on a graphic for PF to explain to our prospects, here's what happens when you inquire with PF. We have a form that you fill in, and currently there's a short video and a form, and then people fill it in and they send it to us. And sometimes they want to call, and sometimes they don't. And sometimes they never reply to our emails, and sometimes they want to start tomorrow and we didn't know. And we thought, well, that's on us. That's our responsibility to make it better. So now we added a question to our form that says, would you like to book a call with one of the team? And you can either say, yes, absolutely, I'm not sure, or no, not right now. Any of those are fine. But actually that means that if somebody's not ready, they say, no, I don't want to call. We're like, great, no problem. Thanks for telling us about your firm. What can we send you that's free? What can we send you that's helpful? But part of what Steph and the team have been creating is a process graphic to tell prospects, when you do fill in this form, here's what happens. And if you look at it and go, oh, I don't want that to happen. I don't need a call with PF yet. I just want to absorb free stuff. Maybe I'll join the accelerator. That's grand. Then you don't. And then that saves everybody time. The good marketing has divided. Raydan created this, they're a firm in London, and they created this actually as an onboarding graphic to say, here's what happens when you join in month 1, month 2, month 3, etc. And what they found is when they're talking to prospects, this came up all the time. Because the prospect's saying, well, if I sign the proposal, what happens? They're like, ta-da, here it is. They're like, oh, that's really good. Yeah, I'm ready to sign up today. And they're like, well, that'd be nice. We're actually on a waiting list. So now they're working on the 0 to -3 months, which is the period before you sign up. Okay, no problem. You want to sign up in 3 months? Here's what you need to do now. And there's little things you can do. So we can hit straight out of the gate, hit it running from month 1. And that graphic, that information comes from building a process based on the kind of clients that you want so that they're ready and you're ready. You can have a diagnostic or a form or a questionnaire. It could be something as simple as 3 or 4 questions. It could be quite intense. I'll show you this one from Black Sheep that Steph had put in here. Black Sheep created a form because they were tired of getting so many leads that weren't a fit, and it was a waste for everybody. So now if we just put in information, everything that you tick brings up another question. And you say, I am a not-profit. And they go, oh, actually, we don't work with nonprofits. Here's a blog post. Here's why. So you say, oh, actually, no, I'm not a profit. Are you up to date on tax filings? No. What is the reason why they used to say, if you're not up to date on tax filings, we won't work with you. Then they changed that because almost nobody was, up to date on their tax filings. So they're just saying, what is the reason? They're not saying, hey, why is everything? It's just like, what happened? Just so that we know. Are you ready to submit all your documents and be fully electronic? No. Maybe not going to be a fit. And I remember when Kevin suggested some of these, he was working with one of our client marketing managers. And I said, guys, I don't know. I feel like this might be too many things. Like, I feel like people might do this and then just go away, which is interesting because I'm a big fan of weeding out even more. But I said, for a first inquiry, I don't know. I said, but hey, let's just see, these are your clients. This is your approach. And they tried it. And Kevin said within a week, he had 2 leads that were really, really good because they went through this and they answered it and they felt confident and he felt confident, and it helps everybody. So as you create these things, and another one is your pricing methodology. I won't spend loads of time on this, although we could do a whole webinar day on it, about how your pricing is reflected in your marketing. And we say pricing methodology for a reason. This is not about telling people how much it will cost. We know that, same as us, same as with you as professional services, there's things you need to know in order to give them the best price. That's fine. But they need to know how you price, what the approach is, what happens first, what happens next, what does the proposal look like? Where is this calculated? What is it calculated on? Why do you need to know my number of transactions, my sales, my number of team members, all that? Well, we need to know it so that if we help you with payroll, we know how many team members and how often you pay them. That will help us price better. All your visitor is trying to understand is, how much information do I need to know so that when I get the price, I feel confident it's the right one for me? And I would encourage you, if you do not have any content, go back to this one. If you do not currently have any content in your marketing on your website about pricing at all, you need to have something. You need to have a blog post or a web page or a video or something that at least addresses the topic. And you address it by saying, we'd love to give you a price. We're not able to give you one on this website because we need some information. Here's why we need the information. Here's how we use it. For those of you who use something like Go Proposal software, we've even had clients who have done a demo video with a sort of fake company and said, listen, when you come to us, this is how we do this. We bring up the proposal on screen and we go through how many transactions you have, which incidentally is why we need to know that. And number of team members and your amount of sales. And then it goes tink, 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 and it comes up with the price that is right for you with the services that you need. And then we talk about if those are the services you need and which ones we need to remove and all of those things. So having the conversation shows them that you're not afraid to talk about pricing. You're just explaining why. And we've been doing a lot of work on this on the new PF website. We haven't historically had a pricing page. We're not ashamed of any of our prices. They're good prices. They're not cheap. We know that. But it's our responsibility to explain where they come from, where possible, to say, here's how much accelerator costs, here's how much foundations costs. Those are more or less fixed. You're going to pay that regardless. But then there's other factors. Do you want to join the group accelerator with 10 or 15 other accountants who are also going through that yourself? Or do you want to do accelerator 1-to-1, really intensive, just you and one of the PF team going through the accelerator together? Well, if you want to do that, it's going to cost a little more, and here's why. And then you have a choice. You can go, oh, okay, well, I think the group one is better for me at this time. Or no, that's going to deliver what I want, so I'm going to choose that. And then you see the value of it. That's the sort of thing. You can give some prices, you can give ranges, but you need to address that because this involves the doubts and fears that they have, and those need to be addressed so that they feel comfortable and safe. So this is your reminder that when you do it this way, The good marketing divides for you. It causes people to either say, yes, I want to move forward in some way, or no, I'll pull back. That is what it's supposed to do. Everybody is not going to say yes. That will never happen. So you want the people who are your people, your kind of people, to say yes to the next thing, whatever the next thing is. They may not be signing up for retainer straight away, but they're going to download the guide, or fill in the form, or ask for a discovery call, or take a step, get on the waiting list. They're going to do something. And your marketing does that so that it relieves your burdens. And you don't have to go through call after email of people who are like, well, I'm not sure. Like if we look back at some of these things we mentioned at the beginning, where we were talking about people who have these qualities of everything is urgent, or they didn't want to change how they did things, they wanted to renegotiate the fee. You don't have to deal with that. The moment somebody's like, oh no, I don't think I can change this, you're like, well, here's a blog post we've written, here's a video, read that, and if you want to come back to us, here we are. And they might read it and go, that's not what I want, I just wanted the cheapest accountant. Great, off you go. And that's what your marketing is supposed to do for you. Does that make sense? Good, nods, good. A couple people mentioned a few questions there. So I think we'll pause for a second and answer a few of those, and then we'll just have a chat with Georgie about how she has applied to these. And Steph, you can let me know if I've missed any of these. Louise is just mentioning about building the knowledge base. Love that, Louise. Just that reminder of, you can use video, it depends on what you're more comfortable with. If you want to write first and then do a video later, you can use your blog as a script to create a video. If it's easier for you to do a video, you can do what Louise does and turn it into a transcript, and then use that transcript to create a blog or a physical marketing asset. The intro video, Louise, can you, what intro, is this the intro video that we put on the PF website? Is that the one you're talking about? Give us a little more.
I was going to say, you said about you send them a video about you and how you work, etc., which then gets rid of a whole load of 30-minute questions at the beginning to say, woohoo, this is what I do.
Yeah, so that's a good, there's two answers to that one. One is when I am considering working with a company for whatever, I'm getting somebody to help me as a non-exec or book coach or something, I send them a video before the meeting to say, this is who I am, this is who PF is, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I want the conversation to be about. I do that because I don't want to waste time. And it also shows me if they watch it, listen it, absorb it, and enter the conversation in a better way. So the second thing is you could apply that to your own marketing, and you could ask a prospect to send you a video and say, tell me a little about your business before we meet. And if they don't feel comfortable doing it, they can write it in a blog, in a email. You can give them a choice, but it tells you something about them. We've done that once or twice before, and I've been so surprised when people are fully willing to just quickly record a Loom video and say, yeah, here's, who I am. And then you get to the good stuff straight away. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Great. Patrick, you're asking, can these be adapted for a sole trader without any team members? These being, remind me of what
that was the values, possibly, when we were talking about values.
Was that it, Patrick?
Yeah, you've got a nod.
Okay. So what I would say, all of these things that we've talked about, your pricing, your values, all these things, all of these things apply whether you are on your own or have a team. If you're on your own, you figure out what your personal values are and how those connect to your firm, and you express those. And then when and if you have a team, you work with the team to adapt those values to more people. So for example, the 4 pillars that PF has, if I go to our, I think it's on our About Us, we have 4 pillars, which are creativity, integrity, generosity, rest. Those are like character foundational pillars. Those came from things that I care about personally, and then we agreed them as a team once I had a team. But these were still in place when it was just me 10 years ago with my laptop and some outsourcers. But now with the whole team, we also have our behavioral values that explain how we all of us, me, Steph, Ashley, Krija, everybody does the actual work. So those will change over time for sure. Patrick's mentioned you have a fees page, but right now you feel like it's a little too wordy. At least you have one, so keep changing it. That's what happens with all of this content. Just keep changing it, keep editing it. If it's too wordy, the best thing you can do is go through it and cut out probably 70% of the words, figure out what the core, yep, at least that. You want to get down to like 1 or 2 sentences as opposed to big paragraphs. On a website page, people are not going to read all of that. They'll read it in a blog, they'll read it in a PDF guide. So if you want to take that content and put it in a blog post, fine. But for your website page, you need to get to the point fast. You need to have a statement, maybe a sentence or two, an image, a button, and you want to get to that a lot faster. We do have, as a side note, we have a lot of training sessions we do at PF as part of the PF Lab. That's our community for accountants who are actively doing marketing. And any of you are welcome to join Lab. If you join Accelerator, you get free Lab for a couple months while you're in Accelerator. And one of the trainings we do in Lab is how to word things and cut out words that you don't need. Even things like the word that. If you went through and removed every instance of the word that, or which is, or the point I am trying to make is, or those extra wordiness, then you get to the point a lot faster. My process of writing a book has shown me how incredibly wordy I am, and how cutting out those extra words helps people get to the point faster. So really great questions, and thank you for sharing those. So I want to make sure we have time to chat to Georgie. I know she shared a few things throughout, but we're going to take a little time to do that. And hopefully most of you can stay until past. If you need to go, we understand. But just very quickly, we'll touch on it at the end. But if this has all been useful and you're like, wow, there's so much in here, this could change the way I do my marketing, I would definitely encourage you to join the 12-week accelerator. Steph will drop the link in there. There's 2 ways you can join. One, you can go to the link, pay the money, be ready, and join us next week when it starts. The other one is you can apply to win a golden ticket. We are giving away 1 space in the accelerator, and all you have to do is submit a 3 to 5 minute video somewhere on social and just say, this is why I'd like to win. Even if you don't win, we'll still give you some bonus extra stuff, and you can join Accelerator anyway. We've already had a couple people apply. It's an opportunity for you to say, yeah, I really am serious and I want to do this, but do it in the way that's safest to you. Just put the video on whatever social you want to, tag PF. Steph can give you the link to that. It's worth a shot, and it helps you to record a video. And all you're doing is saying, hey, here's who I am. This is what I loved about what we talked about with marketing, and here's how I would use Accelerator. And every time we've had somebody win, they've ended up going, oh my word, that has changed my life, changed my marketing, changed my firm. And it's absolutely worth paying for. We know that, but generosity is one of our pillars, and we believe in helping people to have access to it, and also encouraging you to take some action, hence the video. All right, so let's chat, Georgie, about your journey. Give us a little background. I know you told us about your thoughts on marketing. Are you like, well, we don't need to do marketing because we have loads of leads. And then you got in touch with PF and that. How would you say that your kind of approach and thoughts towards marketing have changed in the last couple of years because of that?
It's been a massive shift, really. We are much more considered with what we do now. We think a lot more about who we're trying to talk to. I will veto blog posts. So we had one of the team wrote a perfectly nice blog about information security online. And I'm like, we're not an information security expert. This is absolutely nothing to do with us. You know, we're not going to post that. And we don't just think about marketing to prospects. We're also thinking about what information we provide, which we can share with our client base. And, you know, going back to that, the quick queries thing just absolutely kills us as accountants. If we're getting consistent questions on something, so I'd like to have an electric car, or how about I have a garden office, or, you know, we have a blog post about electric cars, which we share. We have a blog post about garden offices that we share. And it generally means that then when people come to us with follow-up questions, either they've got a bit of information and gone, oh, that's interesting, I can't be bothered right now, and they've gone away, or it's a much more focused conversation, and we're not repeating the same thing time and time again. So we're not just looking at doing it outward facing, it's also to support our client base.
I love the point you made about creating content that appeals to the kind of client you want and the kind of firm that you are. And I've had this before as well. It's actually, for a moment, a quite horrible feeling when a team member has done all this work and you're like, yeah, that just doesn't fit. And I'm sure, like me, you went, what happened to cause them to get to the point of writing that whole blog that isn't a fit? And how can I and we help them to make sure the topics are right? Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What did you
it's like you were in the room.
Yeah, what changed for you after that? How do you kind of approve or agree topics now?
Well, what we've been trying to do was get one of the team who shows a flair for writing more involved in the marketing. And we put her in contact with somebody who does some of our social media posts. And the social media lady had said, oh, it's an information security day. Can we have something from zero that we can then post? And then she took that to go, I should write a blog.
Right.
So she and I have had a conversation about, you know, we have a strategy with our blogs. We need to talk about ideas for blogs before they even get to the point of being mentally assessed, so that everything's consistent and coherent. So yeah,
and that it fits with your brand and who you are. We've done the same at PF. We had one of our content writers wrote her. We have an marketing article that we write every Friday, and different team member writes it. And she wrote this whole thing, and it was, you know, thousands of words, and she put all this time in. It was the first one that she did. And I read it, and I instantly knew we already had a blog on that. And somehow she had missed seeing it, or, you know, we hadn't reviewed the topic. And I said, well, on the positive side, you've done great with this. On the downside, it's going to have to completely change. But instead of telling her what to change, I said, here's the blog that we already have. Here's the video. Here's the resources. What do you suggest we do with this blog that you've created? And so she got to be part of the process and say, oh, I see your point. Okay, here's how I can adjust it. I'll remove this, move that out, change that, add these things. And then Steph and I and the team member had a conversation about how we prepare better so that this never happens to a team member again and they don't feel their time is wasted. And so now Steph and I approve the topics and even the structure before it's written. Quick point on that about involving the team. For those of you who do have a team, everybody in your accounting firm needs to be involved in marketing, but not at the same level. So you as the leader are here in the middle at the core, the buck stops with you, the full marketing responsibility is yours, but everybody else will be at different levels. And I know you're working on this as well, Georgie, is you create some, you contribute some, and some of the team contribute at different levels. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And how has involving the team helped your marketing, would you say?
Well, I mean, there's the obvious, which is it doesn't all sit on my shoulders. That's been of massive benefit. But also, I mean, with the best will in the world, I'm not going to be the one that's having all of the conversations with the clients or with the prospects. So why am I always going to be the one with all the best ideas? So I think it's really important that the people who are having those conversations are the ones who are saying, we really need to have a blog about cryptocurrency because we've had 6 questions on that in the last 2 weeks. So it's making sure that we're using skills and ideas across the team.
Yeah. And how does that help the team and your clients? Like, how does that bring to you the kind of clients that they want to work with?
I think it really helps with when we've onboarded somebody, if they've only had a conversation with me and all they've ever seen on the website is me, and it's my name on all the blogs. And then I say, ta-da, here is the person who's going to work with you. They're like, oh, but I signed up because of you.
And then they don't feel safe.
Yeah. So it is that we all share the same values.
Yes.
We all try and come across in a relatively similar way. So you're not going to have a massive cognitive dissonance if you're dealing with Emma or Caroline or Annie instead of with me. But at the same time, it's really important that they see from the very first knockings that we are a team, and there are different people who will help with different things.
Do you know, it's such a powerful thing to think about when you want to get to a certain place with client prospects, training and clients, and the best clients. There are so many steps early on to get you there. We went through the exact same thing at PF that Georgie has, of me saying, PF is not Karen. PF is all of us. We are PF. That actually affected our branding. We went from theprofitablefirm.com to wearepf.com. The we are is we, the team, but also we together with you, which reflects one of our values, which is collaboration. We don't create content magically for you while you just go away and do other things. We talk to you, we hear from you. Like Georgie does this with the PF team. You know, you guys share ideas and then the team take it and sprinkle magic over it and do amazing things. Yeah. And what kind of, I know we always want to talk as well about results in marketing, and rightfully so. A quick point on marketing results is a reminder that the right way is the long way. And that means if you want to get to the place like where Georgie's at with the drip feed and the waiting list, there's a lot of work in between. And that work enables you to get to that better place, not necessarily tomorrow or instantly, but in a more manageable way. So tell us a little about the sort of results that you have seen, though, in the last couple of years.
So we plateaued. We take on new clients, we struggle to manage the workload, we'd lose some existing clients, and we'd really plateaued, both in terms of the top line and also profitability or lack thereof. And it was really hard to kind of break through from that. And what focusing on our marketing and our message and our approach has really done for us is it's pushed us through that particular stalling point, and it's enabled us to grow again. So we grew 40% the year after we signed up with PF. We grew 30% the year after that. We're doing a similar hike in top line and noticeably in profitability this year. And we're really careful now about what work we take on, and whether or not it's going to be something that's going to damage our ability to keep moving forwards, really. So yeah, it's been a huge change, and we've seen really good results, and it's made the usual January pain feel a bit less painful, because we've had a massive record billing month off the back of it. And you know, it's that kind of stuff. It just makes it feel a bit more worthwhile.
Yeah, I love that. I love all of those reminders. First, the insight, like 40% in the first year, and it's like, oh, that's exciting. Then 50 and then 60. No, it went 40 and then you said 30 the next year.
Percentage-wise, inevitably it's going to go down, isn't it? But the numbers are good.
Yeah, well, and also because it ties back to what your actual goals are. We have clients who have worked with us and have successfully and excitedly lost clients after working with us, because they're like, yay, we lost the clients that were difficult and headaches and hard, and actually were more profitable. Some of them didn't even get new clients for a while, and they were still more profitable because, like Steph was pointing out, they took all that energy from the difficult clients and poured it into the clients that they love. Gave them a call, sent them an email, connected with them. And then the client casually mentions they need something. You go, oh, did you know we do that? Oh, do you? And then you're getting the sales from people who actually like you and want to work with you. Yeah. So
we have lower client numbers now.
It's great success.
So yeah.
Lower client numbers and better clients. Would you say, what sort of percentage of your client base would you say that you love right now?
I'd probably go maybe 40% that we really love.
And then what percentage do you really like?
So we like the majority of our clients. I would say that the list of people that we talk about getting rid of with great excitement is probably now down at about 10%.
Okay, so you have like 40% you love, 40% you like, and 10% that are going to go away. What was that like before we started working with you?
We probably only had 10-20% that we loved.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, that's been a significant improvement, and we definitely had a higher proportion of people that we would talk, about ditching if we could afford to ditch.
Yes.
Yes. And I mean, we're now at the point where the financials of losing, even if we lost our biggest client, the financials of that wouldn't damage us. And we can look for the opportunity rather than being terrified of it. So if we lost our biggest client, well, that would suck, but actually it'd free up this person's time and that person's time. We could do these things that we want to do, because we try and do all the things, but we don't always have all the time.
Yeah. And it's another point of the waiting list. When you do the waiting list, well, that's a whole nother webinar, and we can talk, we have lots of resources on that. But you get to the waiting list when you have done all the work that Georgie and Starfish have done following this pattern. And when you get there, then like Georgie said, you don't have to fear if something happens. Sometimes it's not a client leaving because they're a bad client. Sometimes family stuff, life stuff, pandemic stuff, whatever, it's nobody's fault, just life. And they lose their business, or they have to focus on their family, or whatever it be. And you don't have to be terrified of that, because you go, gosh, that's a terrible thing. It's no problem. We're here whenever you're ready. And then you go to your waiting list and you grab somebody and say, hey, we're ready now. You thought you'd have to wait 3 months. Great news. We have an opening. Do you want it? And they can go, oh, no, we're not actually, no problem. We go to number 2 on the waiting list. We have an opening. Do you want it? And then people are starting, it's that under promise, over deliver. Like, you're going to wait 3 months. Oh, actually, we're ready now. And then you do that when you're ready. That's great. Anything else you want to share with those here, just about results in general and about results in marketing?
I mean, as an accountant, it's all about the numbers, right? But it's also about quality of life and enjoyment of what you do, and satisfaction within the team with what they do as well. We've been much more prepared to turn around, and we've done this to a client that makes the team miserable, and say, this isn't working, And we had one particular client who was a massive drag, and what we've managed to do is turn that relationship around. They've got somebody in-house to do the bookkeeping we used to do for them as well, and now we're down to more of a compliance relationship because they trust us to do that, and it's taken away all the misery, but not entirely lost us the client. And we had a long conversation with them, but we can't keep going like this. We're quite happy to part ways. We'll give you plenty of notice so you can find somebody else. And we worked out a way that we could make it work more successfully. But it's looking at what will keep your team working for you as well. I mean, particularly at the moment, resource for accountants is like massively thin on the ground. And we are very good at retaining our team members because we worry about them and try and make sure that they're doing work that they enjoy and they don't deal with people who make them miserable.
Love it. Yeah, for your team and for you and Emma as well, I'm sure. So we all want. Well, clearly we could talk with Georgie all day, and we often have. I just conscious of time and want to remind you of what we mentioned before, was that all of these things we've been talking to are covered in the accelerator. It's a 12-week coaching group that goes through each of these 12 in order. And this session we had today is actually, it's probably a good example, give you a feel for how accelerator works. It's almost like a taster session, which we do as well, because you would have about this size of group. There's somewhere between 10 and 30. I think right now we have 14 or 15 people who are on accelerator starting next week. A couple more of you will join. And the what we do as we go through accelerator is we share some content with you. You put things into the chat box. We have people who unmute themselves like Georgie and share how they've applied it or ask questions. So if this was helpful and you feel like going through these 12 in order would help make your marketing better, then you're welcome to join. As I said, Steph has put the link in there so that you can either go straight there and just say, yep, I'm ready. I don't want to bother trying to win the golden ticket. I just know I need to do this and I'm in. If you aren't sure, or you want to at least see if you can win the golden ticket first, that's open until Friday. And literally all you do is record a 3 to 5 minute video and you post it somewhere online with the hashtag PF Golden Ticket, I think. Yeah. And that's it. That's all you do. We've already had a couple entries, and then we vote on it and we tell you who the winner is. And if you win it, great, you got a free space. And if you don't, we'll give you some free stuff and some extra bonus things for the effort that you make. So that starts in February. If you're interested in it, but you're not able to join for February, there is an intake in May. My only caveat on that one is that we often find with marketing, it's very tempting to find the closest excuse, which is time, busy, taxes, whatever. There's never a good time, not busy time to do this. And I'm sure Georgie can attest to this as well. You're never going to be like, oh, I have all the time in the world, now I can join. So if you genuinely aren't able to, for whatever reason, we have one in May. But if this is helpful, think about where you could be by May, because by May you will have gone through all of these 12. Question from Elizabeth, what's the video to be about? 2 things. Actually, Steph, you share. I just want to make sure you get it right, and Steph knows this.
Yeah, sure. So we ask for you to include in your video what you're finding is weighing on your mind in marketing. So where is it at the moment that you feel you need the most help? So I'm sure there might be a list of things that you feel need attention or support with, but what at the moment when you're thinking about your marketing or you're thinking about the clients you have, what is it that's causing you the most worry and really weighing heavy on you? So we'd love to hear that from you, and why you would like to be part of the next group. What about the group you think would help you and support you? Where in your firm would it help you? And just what you'd love about being a part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
so
anything
yeah,
else
those
you'd like
2
to share
things.
as well?
What's weighing on you with marketing, or if nothing's weighing on you, what are you excited about marketing you wish you were doing more of? And why would you like to be an accelerator? What do you think you would get from it? And we had our last golden ticket winner, Katie. We shared a video from her on the socials, I think, or it's about to go. And when she shared her video, she just said, I have, in her case, she had a unique niche and industry, and she said, I've realized my content could be better to apply to that particular audience, and I know Accelerator would help me with that, and here's what I've done, and here's what I'm excited about. But part of the reason of this video, and I honestly would encourage all of you who are listening today to just record the video. Once you've recorded it, please do share it with us, but even for your own sake, to be like, what am I thinking about in terms of marketing? And what could I work on that would help me? Let's remember the whole point of this, that would help me to get the kind of client that I want to be getting, the kind of client that is better, not just another number, another person, another lead, and be like, oh yeah, I have this many leads, but the kind of client that you love working with. And then like Georgie, you can go from having 10% that you love and all the other ones are difficult to 10% who are a little difficult, and you either need to convert them to an amazing client or let them go. That's a big change in a couple years. And it's due to the efforts and work that Georgie and the team have put in, which started with Accelerator and then Foundations and then all of these other things, because you took in the learnings about marketing and applied them. Is there anything else you want to leave our accountants with, Georgie, before we finish?
I'm just going to say that Accelerator was a real business changing thing for us. And I loved it so much, I then got the whole team to do it last year. So if you're not sure whether or not you got the time to do it, it's, even if you only pick up 2 or 3 things that you're then going to push forward and change, it is still worth it. So I would absolutely make the time.
Thanks,
Georgie. And I'm not paid to say that. So.
No, she's not. We just love Georgie. She is one of the many clients that we absolutely love. And like Steph said, we noticed in the team Slack when people are like, oh, I just love this client, and it happens all the time with Georgie. Like, look what Georgie did, look what she said, she's so great. And that's what we want all of our clients to be. And we've done a lot of work in the last few years to get to that point, and we want to help you get to that point as well. So thanks for being with us. And Emily, I'll hand back to you.
Thanks so much, Karen. That was really interesting and really informative. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. And I will send a follow-up email to everyone. And if you've got any comments, please send them through to me so we can do more sessions like this. So yeah, thank you, Steph. Thank you, Georgie. And thank you, Karen. It's been really, really good. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Emily, thanks
Bye.
everyone.
See you again, Karen.
Bye bye.